Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Documentary Club, a place for documentary lovers. I'm Jeff Jones, and with me, as always, is Jack. Today, we are talking about Long Shot, a documentary released on September 3rd, 2017 on Netflix, now streaming on Netflix. This documentary is about a man who was falsely accused of murder and how Larry David and Curb Your Enthusiasm came to the rescue. But before we get to that, I would like to welcome you in. Jack, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me, and welcome everyone that's listening in and taking a look at Long Shot. What a really, really cool and very interesting in so many ways, this documentary Long Shot, and how it all fell together for this guy, Juan.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a Curb Your Enthusiasm fan. I have
Same
been
here.
a fan since I think 2000 or so when it came out. And the show just finished this year. So this is kind of apropos of, going full circle with the show. And so really interesting. The lawyer was a lateral thinker and really puts a lot of hard work into figuring out how can I find and prove that my client is innocent. And this documentary kind of shows it.
And I think we can all just kind of sit back and say, well, there's a whole lot of stuff that the documentarians, for whatever reason, they decided not to put in and make this a multi-part documentary. Maybe they felt like they didn't need to, but they covered, I think, at least tidbits of all the highlights. There's more that I want to know, as we talked about before we started with the recording, but I think they hit pretty much all the highlight reels to make this work out really well.
All right, so let's take a look at the intro first.
All of life is what if.
Well, I was born in Los Angeles in 1978. They used to break into the cars and I would be the driver. It was August 12th of 2003. That night, I had a weird dream. I had a dream of like UFOs or aliens or something. Woke up any other day and we're driving to work. It's probably about 7:30 in the morning.
We pulled in to the parking lot and that's when it all happened.
As soon as I opened the door, he jumps out of the car and he's just like, they walked up to me, threw me on the floor, like face down on the asphalt. I said, Dad.
We're hoping that you're going to talk to us. Is that what you're willing to do? You're willing to talk to us about what's going on?
What's going on?
He was arrested. I said I could get that. Why was he arrested?
Charged with murder of 16-year-old Martha Puebla.
My brother had been arrested for a murder. And we went to his preliminary hearing.
When we were in court, they did ask us to provide our driver's license or IDs.
Took it as we're watching someone testify.
You killed somebody.
Wait a minute. Those are very strong words right there. I did not kill nobody. I would never kill nobody.
You're just going about your day's business. You actually went to the court, your brother's court case, just to support your brother, even though maybe you think he probably had something to do with the crime, but you're there to show support for your brother. They take a picture of you, and then next thing you know, you're driving to work and they arrest you for murder. In my mind, I'm thinking they'll straighten this out and I'll be set free. But that's not what happened.
I did find it interesting that when they went to court that they had to give a photo ID. Yeah, and we get a little introduction to the two detectives involved in this, and it's interesting how this ultimately turns out. We'll get more into that later, but yeah, there's definitely some, I'll just say, shenanigans going on, of course, that we didn't know about. And this being a short documentary, not that much later. We need to get look at this defense lawyer, another really good guy, another good one.
Naturally, I asked him about the facts of the case. I didn't even know what the evidence was. I didn't know how many witnesses they claimed they had.
They showed me the sketch and said that was me.
Male, Hispanic, black hair, very short.
Black hair below his neck. I've never had nothing under my lip.
Okay, so that you didn't shave this day either.
But why wouldn't I shave my mustache then?
I don't know, because you think you're cool.
Because you think you're cool.
Yeah, what a smart ass answer.
Like, I'm basically telling you, it's not me. Yes, I look like this. Maybe I resemble this guy, but so does 100,000 other men in the area.
5'7" to a 5'11", that's a pretty significant difference in height too.
And for a Latino man to have a mustache like
Right.
that, like how he wears it, it's very
Right.
common. You know, it's a very
Very-
common look. You know,
And this prosecutor, she's kind of a real piece of work too. I have to tell you, I'm all for good, strong prosecutors, but I don't like prosecutors that just want to win. Period.
right?
Sorry.
Let's watch this part about where were you during the murder. I kind of
Was the death penalty mentioned? Yes, death penalty was mentioned.
I swear to God, man, on my two daughters that I love so much, man, I did not do this.
Jack. But how
Yeah.
many times have we talked about eyewitnesses being incorrect? Countless.
It happens all the time.
And they're going, well, they spotted you, so it must be you. And
Well, and
if you're
he's saying witnesses, and that's a lie. It's one witness that ran.
There's just no way this kid could have committed a murder. And so I told him, I'm gonna get you out of here. Then I started to ask him, all right, do you remember where you were?
I'm like, you know what? Juan, you were at a Dodger game.
Gosh, if we can just prove you're at the game, get the case thrown out. Easy.
not
Yeah,
so
no,
easy, is it?
Not so easy. No.
Not so easy to prove someone is. Yeah, you have the ticket stub, but that doesn't prove you are at the game, right? Anybody could come up with a ticket stub. There's hundreds of thousands of them, or what, 50,000 ticket stubs at any given game.
Well, and timing, just because you say you were at the game doesn't mean you couldn't leave.
Oh, yeah, great point. Great point. Like we continue to say over and over again, like broken records, are you looking for the truth or are you looking for a prosecution? Are you looking
right.
to lock someone up? So let's talk about the prosecutor. And, I like that you said, we want to have good, strong prosecutors. There's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
But we also want to have honest prosecutors. And that's the more important part.
Absolutely. I'd rather have a prosecutor that's interested in truth that loses, 8 out of 10 cases because they didn't have quite enough to convince a jury than a prosecutor that's going to cut corners. It's not looking for the truth, but looking for a conviction and just lock people up. And this is a death penalty case. So
Factor that in. All right, here, let's watch a little bit about the prosecutor.
First of all, we had an eyewitness who identified him. And the day that she testified, which was May 1st of 2003, Juan Catalan was present in the audience.
well, I mean, she wasn't lying when she said she was murdered because she testified in this trial.
Sure.
But she has no way to link Juan to her killing other
Right.
than this
The fact that he was in the courtroom.
and this eyewitness testimony that they're remembering Juan was there. Come on, please.
If you're a law enforcement officer or prosecutor in this day and age and you don't know the problems with eyewitness testimony, then
Yeah.
you are in the wrong business. Then
I could probably just think about it and come up with 10 cases that we've seen in documentaries where eyewitness testimony was wrong, just wrong.
just dead wrong.
Yeah.
I've seen instances where people were like, "Oh, I saw it was a red car that drove away," and it wasn't. Then you see the camera and it's a white car. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah.
just can't necessarily trust eyewitnesses to be accurate. People make mistakes. Your own eyes can play tricks on you.
And
I can
memory.
show you and memory, right?
But it's not a video. That memory is not a videotape in any way. But the investigation into this was such crap, man. It's so bad. It's horrible.
All right, so let's look at the next clip about trying to find a witness at the game.
So we tracked down people as far west as Hawaii and as far east as Chicago. I also learned that there's another set of cameras called Dodger Vision. I painstakingly went through the videos trying to find Juan among 40,000 people. It took me an entire day. to go through a 3-hour game because I could not afford to miss anything.
We can see that it's an SD quality. These are not HD, and that's a problem. But that leads us into shooting, what happened that day.
Right. I want to part the 1703. The lawyer actually finds Juan in his seat. So let's watch that part.
I was able to find Juan sitting in those seats, but the resolution wasn't high enough.
You'll believe the witness from a fuzzy view, but you won't believe a camera with a fuzzy view. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
Double
just
standard.
double standard kind of there. And this is where we first start to think and hear about possibly filming at the game.
Been to hundreds of Dodger games and never have I seen them film anything there.
All he remembered were security personnel blocking the aisle and this man walking up and down the stairs for the different takes. He turns to May 12th, and damn if there isn't an entry on May 12th.
I get a cold call from a guy. This is Todd Melnick. I'm a lawyer, and he tells me this crazy story. My first thought is, this guy's nuts. And secondly, there's 56,000 people at this game. How could this guy possibly be on camera?
He says he was there. Maybe you guys caught him on camera.
And the thing is he's now confirmed earlier that he is there. He's seen him on video, but it's too low of definition. So he's trying to think, dang, maybe they have high definition cameras. Maybe they caught him. However remote of a chance, that's all we need.
That's right.
All right, so let's jump forward to Larry David.
At the time, the name Larry David didn't ring a bell to me.
Mega huge star. That's totally accurate about.
You know, it just lifted my spirits instantly.
The episode was that I picked up a hooker in the carpool lane and took her to Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, so a little backstory on, the show and he's right. In 2003, this show had only been out maybe in its second or third season. It didn't really get its critical acclaim for a few years. I mean, it went for 23 years, I think. So this is just the beginning of its run. And they find Juan and the daughter on film. So maybe let's jump to that part at 24:53. Look at that. Look at that. You can't write it much better than that, can you?
You can't.
I don't think that, we always say this, that truth is stranger than fiction. And here you go. Prime example. No one could write the story better.
No.
Impossible. And then to have that footage, Larry's like messing around down, lower. And it's like they were cued. Okay, now's your cue. Walk into frame.
They walk down and there they are. Boom. It's like, oh my God, really? And it's, it's high def. You could clearly see it's him and his daughter. But there's a problem. Time frame.
The time code, right?
The time code. That's right.
Yeah. Let's watch a little bit about the time code.
We shoot with time code, which is time of day, a stamp that's put on the videotape that you can't see. It's electronic.
The first scene was at 8:55. The last scene was at 9:15.
It was pretty exciting, to tell you the truth.
Except the murder took place at like 10:32.
It'd take you an hour to get out of the parking lot sometimes. You know what I mean?
It very well could. That's what I'm saying. It's like they just like they stopped investigating completely when they got this alleged eyewitness ID. Boom, done. We got this guy. You're done.
And that's a real reflection of how things operate in the justice system. We have our eyewitness.
You're done.
That's all we need. Lock them up and never think about it again. And you wonder, there's no way that this is the first time something like this has happened.
Not a chance.
So the prosecution is going to contend that you could have left early and had time to go and commit that murder.
I don't
they just won't let it go, right? They
no.
And they don't go any further to investigate to say, okay, well, you have a good point. Let's do a little bit more investigation and really bolster our case. No, we've done enough. We have our eyewitness. That's all we need for a jury. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And he was, she says 100 to 250 yards. Well, that's a pretty good swing of distance. He's not even like, I think you can get a little closer than that if you actually believe what you're saying. 100 to 250. That's quite a swinging distance for me. It is. And
Right.
then, but don't investigate any further because we've got our eyewitness testimony. They picked him out, and we're done. We got you.
You could have left early. Could have,
Right.
but you have no proof he left early.
No,
You're just guessing.
that's right.
And you're going with a
Speculatory.
story that fits your narrative without any proof at all. He
That's
could
right.
have left early.
Because we had the ability to see what cell tower the actual phone calls are pinging off of.
Given this particular call, she said, we can tell exactly where you're at. Well, okay, not really exactly. This particular tower, the radius that it broadcast was only a mile. So he had to be within a mile of that tower, which was nowhere near where this murder took place. And this particular clip, now she's already talked some about the case and how the cell tower information really kind of went over her head a little bit. I wish they would have I wish the lawyer would have graphed this out like in show a photo and show the cell tower where it pinged from, where he was at Dodger Stadium there, and then the location of where this murder was. I think that could really nail this visual. They didn't. Clearly, they didn't do that. But anyway, this judge is talking about how the cell tower testimony kind of went over her head a little bit, but the case stuck with her.
I remember being anguished by this case. Martha Puebla was at stake for me.
Got caught on video from that HBO show. You heard the tape.
It is clearly a one witness ID case. However, the one witness in this case is extremely credible.
Let me stop you there. The credibility, your background, whether you're a judge, a janitor, a jury member, another word that starts with a J, a jack.
Appreciate that.
It has nothing to do with your ability to identify someone better or worse than anyone else. Your eyes are, unless you're blind or you have an eye problem, your ability to identify someone, it doesn't matter your credibility.
No.
And that bothers me that you would hang that on the importance of their eyewitness. Well, they're a credible witness. How many times have we heard that credible witness stuff?
And how many times has this prosecutor heard it and turned out they were wrong?
Todd's sitting to my left, and he leans over, and then he says, "It's over."
Everything's over, Mommy.
Todd gave me one last hug and just seemed like he just rode off into the sunset. All I want, honestly, is a Coke. You have no soda, no nothing in there, dude. All I wanted was a Coke. That's all.
All I wanted was a Coke.
Sounds like you, Jack.
That's right. Throw a little rum in it, but okay.
Oh, hey. We watch a lot of documentaries, and the crime-related documentaries don't always have positive outcomes. That's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to pick this one for this week, because the last few weeks have been having really heavy subject matter, and I just thought, let's do something with a positive, happy outcome. We get a little bit of Larry David comic relief in here, and so that's the point where it's over. The criminal case is over, but the entire ordeal is not over.
It really kind of interests me what steps were taken and why the civil lawsuit. What were the grounds of that? Something had to have initiated. I don't know if it was this particular lawyer or another lawyer that even brought this lawsuit, this civil lawsuit against the Los Angeles Police Department. I'm really interested in that. I still am. I was thinking about it, leading up to this.
Were you asking Mr. Catalan questions to try to obtain an incriminating response? Did you try to trick Juan Catalan after he was arrested?
That several members of the gang murdered a 16-year-old girl.
There was a huge amount in that, minute or so little clip there. These two detectives, these two detectives were deposed in this civil suit. One ended up getting $320,000 settlement for what they did. And these two detectives were removed from homicide. You can't. You guys suck. You're put off onto another department.
Which, we don't always see that, do we? We don't always
No.
see that the detectives that did something wrong get reassigned to, what was it, auto theft
Yep.
or auto fraud.
Yep.
That's a far cry from murder. And it's like, you know what? You can't do any horrible damage anymore. We're gonna move you out of this murder. It's too serious for you. You can't handle it.
Right.
And so we're transferring you to auto fraud. Seems
It's
like more appropriate than usual, than we usually see.
It really is, because if they didn't investigate and even try to find out anything about his cell phone usage, I'm sure they clearly knew he had one. I have no doubt they would have discovered that. Yeah. I'm really interested in the bits and pieces that led up to this lawsuit. What spurned it? Something had to spur this. I don't know. I'm really thinking about looking into it a bit more.
Yeah, it is interesting. Maybe before we do the live, we can rustle up something and try to figure out what was the case there, what led to that, what was the first tip off of the police misconduct, or
right,
where did the lawyer feel like, oh, you have a case? Because if it's just if it's a mistake, it's a mistake. But you have a lawsuit when there was more than a mistake, when there was wrongdoing. And
yes,
they don't want to just pay out $300,000 for nothing.
No, absolutely not.
And they don't reassign detectives for nothing.
That's right. They don't.
So yeah, let's try to look into this one. It would be interesting to find out exactly what spun this into that civil lawsuit. Another positive of this documentary that we don't always see is that they ended up finding out who actually did kill the girl, the 16-year-old.
That's right.
We don't always see that. A lot of times they go, oh, we lost the case, blah, blah, but I still think he's guilty. And then they just end the case there.
Right. It's done. And
Yeah.
we're left with a big black hole.
But here, they went that extra step and they found him and they prosecuted them. And they did do plea deals, and maybe they didn't do as much time as they should, but that's a different story altogether.
What if the lawyer hadn't pushed that extra step to get this footage? What if Larry David and their company chose somewhere else to shoot the document? There's just so many things that drive in that got this guy off. Because without this footage and that cell phone information, this guy's facing the death penalty. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it.
What if that production assistant didn't let them go through when he wasn't supposed to? He broke the rules and let them through.
That's right. Exactly.
I think that's the peak of the documentary right there. That's the part where you go, oh my God.
Right.
They got him on film. They wasn't supposed to let him through. He let him through, and there he is with his daughter. And
this prosecutor, well, that doesn't mean anything. I
wonder what the prosecutor says. Like that, if we do a little bit of digging on this, I'd love to see if she ever commented after this and said, made an apology or said, you know what, I really believed it was him, and sometimes we get it wrong, or if she just dug her heels in like so many that we've seen before.
Just based on what we've seen before, I could be wrong, and I haven't dug into it, but I'm gonna bet she dug her heels in.
Yeah, maybe. I guess my wrap of comments are thank you, Larry David.
No doubt, and the showrunner.
Curb Your Enthusiasm. What a great show! 23-year run, I think. This just adds a little bit more to the long storied career of Larry David and his show Curb Your Enthusiasm. And you never know how your actions can have an impact on other people in the world. And
Massive
it's an important
impact.
thing to remember.
I mean, given the subject matter of that show, Curb Your Enthusiasm, I mean, it's kind of a quirky comedy kind of thing. It's not really serious. I mean, there are, I guess, serious moments, but it's just not that way. And to have this case tied around it, filming of this one episode, it's mind-boggling, really. You think about it. And this is a serious case. This little young 16-year-old kid lost her life.
And by the way, that episode, the the carpool lane is one of my favorite episodes of the entire series. It really is a very hilarious, and it just makes me smile thinking about how ridiculous it is. But that's what happens with Curb Your Enthusiasm.
And you
So
know,
go check that out.
No doubt. There are a lot of those episodes in Curb Your Enthusiasm, but this one is definitely a standout.
Well, that's it for us today. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope you go and check out Long Shot and check out Curb Your Enthusiasm, the Carpool Lane, if you want to see the behind the episode that pairs with this documentary. But that's it for us today. This is Documentary Club, a place for documentary lovers. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Jack.
And we'll see you guys on the next one.